If you aren't already in my Discord server, what are you doing? It's got some of the best alpha in all of crypto inside, full of people of all experiences, old, young, and everything in between. And the best part, it's completely free. Yo everyone, welcome back to the channel. We hit 2,500 subscribers the other day, which is crazy in such a short space of time. So I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has been supporting me and the channel. It honestly means so much to me and I'm extremely grateful for everything. If you're new here, I've been investing in crypto since 2019 and I'm a qualified financial planner in real life. Today we are going to be discussing Cubic. I made my first video on Cubic earlier this year and to this day it's been my most successful video in terms of views. That was more an in-depth look into Cubic, breaking the fundamentals down simply for everyone to understand. So if you want to check that video out first, feel free. But for now, I want to focus more so on the update since and whether Cubic is still a good investment for you today. So going over the website very quickly, we can see we've had a fresh makeover, very clean, very aesthetic, and I'm a huge fan of this futuristic colorway. The key takeaways on what Cubic is jump up straight from the get-go. The first ever useful proof of work layer 1 blockchain, be part of our journey to achieve true AI power powered by useful miners. If we scroll down, we can take a look at some of their key features. So we've got feeless transactions and offline payment verification, saying that Cubic is one of the few layer 1s which doesn't charge for making value transfers. Everything's open source and available to view on GitHub. We've also got smart contracts with a built-in burn mechanism, and this part's interesting, capable of achieving over 55 million TPS on their smart contracts, which is absolutely mind-blowing. We've got their Quorum protocol, which I have mentioned in the previous video, and I don't really want to get too in-depth into it now, but again, feel free to check that one out if you want more information. Oracles as well, useful proof of work, which works instead of wasting the energy of the miners, they perform AI tasks for researching solutions for Agarth, and Agarth is the AI mechanism or AI part of Cubic, aiming to provide true AI open source to everyone. Summing up Agarth simply, it works by combining the power of thousands of Cubic miners. Not just mining crypto, these miners create billions of tiny AI artificial neural networks. These are tasked with compressing and decompressing data, which sounds simple, but is actually a challenging problem that helps AI learn and improve. The impressive part is Agarth has its own AI called the Teacher, which watches over the ANNs and tweaks them to perform better. Over time, the Teacher becomes more efficient, creating a continuous cycle of improvement. Eventually, this process could lead to the development of true AI, an AI that can think and improve itself independently. So the benefits that come with this is obviously it's accessible to everyone. Anyone with spare computational power can contribute to Agarth's growth, leading to open collaboration. The progress is transparent and open for everyone to see on a global scale. Also, unlike traditional crypto mining, which often consumes lots of energy with little real-world benefit, Agarth's mining process is truly useful, geared towards solving AI-related tasks. Naturally, all of this will lead to the democratization of AI. Agarth could prevent the concentration of AI power in the hands of a few. The constant self-improvement could lead to the acceleration of AI innovation, and the decentralization could create an AI that serves humanity as a whole, rather than just profit-driven motivations. This all sounds well and good on paper, but in reality there are many limitations. I've listed a few here. This is incredibly technical stuff, right? And there are many who think this whole concept won't be achieved. Remember, AI is still extremely new to the world. There will be many issues along the way which we haven't even encountered yet. The whole idea of transparency and open source is great, but it has to come with security in case it falls into the wrong hands. Then there's issues of scalability, as this will still have huge amounts of energy consumption, which will only have an impact on the environment and the network itself. So the vision behind Agarth is very cutting edge and exciting, and it does seem possible, but it comes with significant technical, ethical, and logistical challenges. I understand why there are fans and doubters of the model, we just have to wait and see what happens. One of the major updates I want to discuss is the number of exchanges that Cubic is now available on. At the beginning of the year, it was only available on a couple exchanges, SafeTrade and TradeOgre I believe. Now we can see a healthy number of exchanges available. We've got Bitpanda, Mexi, BitGet, Gate. These are reputable tier 2 exchanges. Bear in mind, Cubic previously hit a $1 billion market cap valuation whilst only being on these two, which shouldn't be understated. It's a completely mind-blowing achievement. I personally know a lot of people who were reluctant to purchase Cubic due to the exchanges it was on, so this update definitely opens the project up to a fresh wave of investors. There has been a significant update to Cubic's tokenomics too. I've used this table in the past to visualize and compare the tokenomics with something like Bitcoin to help people better understand. Remember, one Cubic is purely just one Cubic, the smallest iteration. However, one Bitcoin can be broken down into Satoshis, and one Satoshi is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, I believe. So when adjusted, we can see that Bitcoin supply is 2,100 trillion as opposed to 21 million. This is just keeping it in perspective, guys. But Cubic recently had an 80% supply reduction in its max supply, reducing it from 1,000 trillion to 200 trillion, which was definitely necessary as the supply was never going to reach that figure anyway. It was a bit of a gimmick and definitely put potential investors off. When adjusting the max supply to compare with Bitcoin, we can see we currently have about 1.1 million in circulation out of a max 2 million now. And remember, Cubic is also deflationary. In addition to this, Cubic had an emission schedule per epoch, which is every 7 days, emitting 1 trillion cubic or 10,000 when put in perspective. This naturally raised questions of excessive inflation, dumps from miners resulting in negative price action, etc. This has now been reduced by 15%, so it's now 850 billion per week or 85,000. There's further detail in this blog post regarding their tokenomics updates. Not going to go through the whole thing as I don't want this video to be too long, but there's mention of a halving structure to be implemented in future years in regards to the emissions. Very similar to Bitcoin, we just have to wait for further information. So, if you've been active in the crypto space, you know a lot of the recent negative price action on Cubic was caused by FUD, primarily with an ongoing beef with the Casper community. Honestly, I just don't get why these communities hate each other so much. Crypto can be a very fickle place, lots of childish comments and behaviors, and I genuinely think 99% of it comes down to it taking place in a digital landscape. There's no way people in crypto would speak to each other the way that they do if it were face to face. But yeah, Cubic versus Cas, two top projects. I'm a fan of both, and I think both, and I hope both, will make investors a lot of money. Some similarities, a lot of differences, they can absolutely coexist. Just because you like one doesn't mean that you have to hate the other. I don't know, I'm just so tired of seeing this conflict, to be honest. Recently linked to the whole Cas versus Cubic thing, there was a very public dismantling of both Cubic and CFB by Shai Wyborski, I don't want to say his name incorrectly, but I believe he's a researcher or developer for Casper. This was an attack which lasted a while, many tweets, many accusations. Him and CFB have been going back and forth, and both the Cas and Cubic communities were getting riled up. Shai attacking the fundamentals of Cubic, saying that the project won't exist in 2 years' time. CFB previously mentioned that Cas wouldn't exist without him as he helped with the development or something. Look, there's a lot going on here. Just search up Cas and Cubic on these guys' Twitter profiles and you'll see just how many tweets there are. I will say that this particular attack from Shai came across as very personal. I'm not sure if it's disdain for CFB driving it, but it seems a very emotional response, as do some of his other tweets. But look, CFB is no saint either. Some of his comments are also quite provocative. Not the best look from either of them. At the risk of repeating myself, I just think it's so dumb. Both of these projects have high potential and there's no reason why both can't succeed. But we know the crypto community can be extremely immature most of the time. I just like to remain objective and critical as much as possible so I don't get emotionally tied into these debates. So one of the main talking points the last few months, CFB, Sergey Ivancheglo, the man himself, a polarizing figure to say the least. Some of the negative price action for Cubic has been attributed to the FUD spread around Sergey as well as his personality on socials. People describe him as arrogant, egotistical, loud, or whatever. He discusses price action publicly, which is viewed as a big no-no in crypto. He may be overly bullish. Some of his tweets or messages in Discord servers has been viewed as immature and not how a project lead should conduct himself. But what do I think? I think people are being very disrespectful to one of the greatest minds in crypto. To put it quite simply, put some respect on his name. This guy literally created the first DAG, created the first proof of stake protocol, he founded NXT and IOTA, made insane amounts of money for investors, and the way people jump to attack him is insane. Sure, you don't have to agree with everything he says and does. I don't either. But the FUD that's been spread around him to me is pretty shocking. There's nothing wrong with an eccentric leader. Take a look at Elon Musk. He's been acting out all over Twitter lately, but one cannot deny his creative genius, and it's a similar story with CFB. They say he drove IOTA to the ground. He left in 2019, and what has it done since? It pumped when everything else was pumping, and now it's at a lower price than it was 5 years ago, and it's no longer in the top 100. I was an investor in IOTA and I was pretty disappointed with how the project was run. Even after CFB left, the project's price action has still been shit. I remember early on in Casper's days there was FUD being spread around the project too, and look at it now. Could we see a similar story for Cubic in 12 months time? I requested some data regarding holders and Michael from the Cubic team was kind enough to provide it for me. An entity is a wallet holding more than one QX, so using this as a metric we can see the wallet numbers over time. The beginning of the year was Epoch 89 and throughout this year the number has been steadily increasing, the community has been growing, we had a sharp decline here, but aside from that, healthy growth. This red box here was when Cubic was listed on Gate, I believe. So overall, we've got healthy growth. Obviously, we can see here clear stagnation in recent weeks, but that's due to the FUD and negative price action. We also have data for the top 200 holders of Cubic and their activity for the last 5 weeks. To keep it simple, around 70% of the top holders had no change in value, 10% decreased, and around 16% actually increased their Cubic holdings. The remaining percentage is made up of entities transitioning to zero and new entities. A lot more analysis can be done around this. Note the total increase and decrease figures at the top, but at first glance this data seems to imply that despite the doubt around the project and negative price action in recent weeks, 70% of the top holders remain unfazed, and some even added to their positions. Just some interesting information, so thank you again to Michael for providing this. Before moving on to price analysis on whether I believe you should be buying Cubic today, there's just a few updates in recent weeks which I'd like to point out very quickly. So first and foremost, we had the first burn taking place for Cubic. 150 billion Cubics were burnt, which I think equates to over 250,000 US dollars at today's prices, and this is going to be the first of many burns. Very, very bullish, reducing the supply. Not really much to be said about that. It's pretty self-explanatory, so just one to keep an eye on in the future. The Android app is now live as well, along with the iOS app, I believe, went live first, maybe a month or so ago. So yeah, that's just another update in case you missed it. An interesting one, Cubic Scientific AI Advisory Committee. They've added some names onto here. I didn't know too much about them, so I didn't want to include it in this video in too much detail because, again, this video would end up being, 40 minutes long if I wanted to go in depth in every update. But yeah, just something to keep an eye on. A random piece of news regarding Cubic's marketing. We can see here they actually hired out a billboard on Times Square, New York, and basically advertised Cubic. You can see my thoughts on this in this tweet I made. Not 100% sure it's targeting the right crowd, but any publicity is good publicity, so I'm intrigued to see what else they come up with in the future. So the price of Cubic today is about $1,700 per billion. CoinMarketCap have up-to-date figures, I've been told, so we've got around 110 trillion in circulation right now out of 200 trillion, 55% in circulation, giving it a market cap of around $194 million or $350 million fully diluted. Not high at all. The price chart, however, makes for grim viewing. I first mentioned Cubic at the start of the year around about $4,000 per billion, and we can see that it went on an absolutely insane run since then, peaking at around $12,000 per billion, around a 3x from when I mentioned it, and at which some members in my community actually took profit, so well done to them. It was also around this time that Cubic hit $1 billion in market cap whilst only being on a couple tier 4 exchanges, which again, I'll repeat, an insane achievement. Following this, the crypto market did go through some testing times and the majority of cryptos went down, Cubic included. We had a mini revival around about the Gate listing, I believe, but then since then the FUD kicked in. CFB also mentioned that there was a shorting bot set up on exchanges which was severely keeping the price down. Whether that was an attack or not, I don't know, but we've been stuck in this circa $2,000 per billion range for a number of weeks now. I'm not gonna lie to you, the chart does look shit. I say this openly, it looks crap. Some people, if you don't know anything about the project and you see a chart like this, you'll think it's a rug, because it does kind of look like that, unfortunately. Obviously, having done research, we know the reasons as to why this price action occurred. But yeah, to the naked eye, not a good look. So the $1 million question, is Cubic still a good investment today? I mentioned in previous videos and to my community a few times that I believe Cubic has the best risk to reward return in all of crypto right now. Is the risk high with Cubic? Relatively yes, especially when compared with coins like Casper. There's no denying that. A lot of FUD, the official white paper isn't out, there are still a lot of questions which need answering. The development of Agarth2, look, I don't shill coins guys, I'm an objective investor. It would be disingenuous of me to yell at you, Cubic is guaranteed to make you serious money like other YouTubers would, and especially when the price chart looks like this. However, the potential for Cubic hasn't changed, the fundamental proposition is unchanged. Assuming they deliver on everything, knock off some tier 1 listings, continue the marketing, we get some Agarth announcements, we're looking at one of the strongest layer 1/AI projects in all of crypto. Purely for speculative purposes and for a bit of fun as well, a 10x would give it a $2 billion market cap, a 50x would give it a $10 billion market cap, and a 100x would give it a $20 billion market cap. These are all exceptional returns for a mid-cap to provide, and they aren't out of the question depending on greater crypto conditions, macroeconomic conditions, and so on. Putting all of this into perspective, you can see why I think that it's the best risk-return coin out there right now. We can see Cubic has been actively building, and we've had more than enough updates since its high. More exchanges, smart contracts, supply reduction, burns, scientific team, marketing, and a lot more to come. Staking on the horizon, potential tier 1 listings, and more. I think once we get the white paper or clear proof of the technical numbers or more clarity around Agarth, then I believe the price will better reflect the updates. Right now there's just too much skepticism around the project, and I kind of understand why. Like most projects, the pumps came from speculation. I know 90% of people don't understand the project and don't really care to, but once the technical proof or white papers or literature is released, then we could climb up very quickly. As always, please do your own due diligence. Any questions you have, feel free to hit me and my community up. Aside from that, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Join my Discord too, link is in the description and it's completely free. Thank you guys once again for allowing me to hit 2,500 subscribers. It really means a lot to me, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.